Welcome to Film Study, an all American podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi, and this is the second part of my character breakdown on Coop with my friend Jen, and we're covering seasons 2 to 4, the most recent season. This was a fun conversation, and we and Jen we like to joke around with each other, but don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. She
Okay.
starts to make more music. I realized how big this was. I will bring up that You Just Got Cooped because that's when she decided to take, I think, music seriously. And she was just like, hey, y'all, yeah, you see me? I went viral. Let me go up to this. Literally, it was the same episode. Let me go up to this little showcase so I could show up my talent because I just cooped this man. Um, it This is my favorite line that I saw. She tells Preach, music has always been my thing, bro. You don't believe me? Go look up You Got Cooped. Like, what?
I can't even laugh. Like I genuinely can't even laugh.
You don't believe me? Go look up You Got Cooped, like one singular video. So anyway, she did that, but I think that she got a little too hype at the beginning because then she got completely demolished with the You the Grim Reaper of the Hood. Oh my gosh. Not the Grim Reaper. Not the Grim Reaper.
You know, Lexi, you literally said we'd not have to discuss this. Like,
And then I forgot how important it was in her music storyline. So anyway, throughout this whole
mhm.
time, she's also starts to work with Layla to produce her demo. And again, because she knows that it was by extension Layla, she comes to spins her girls to go to Layla, and Layla, she's just like, "Do you think your dad will like this?" Da da da. So Layla helps her produce Not My Style, which is also known as This Is Me, This Is Me.
Mhm.
Um, and also like starting to work more with patients. But we know how that turned out in terms of patients, and again, like we'll talk about that at a separate time. But
Mhm.
she felt in terms of music that patience almost was trying to steal Coop's dream, so she tried to go it alone. Again, is working with Layla up until JP really sees her for her as her performance, but then she announces to Layla, without having had no prior discussion, that she was going to sign with Layla's non-existent label at the time. So, what did you think about all of that in terms of her music?
Okay. I will say this. That part where the Grim Reaper of the Hood, that whole entire scene, I could not rewatch that scene. It is. I get so embarrassed for Tamia. Like it is the most embarrassed I've ever been for someone in
The
my
way that
life.
you sounded so serious.
Because it is so I don't understand like why oh gosh. That whole episode, I think that whole episode, like I was so embarrassed for Coop, like from the You Got Cooped. Like oh, oh my word. But
Don't
her
believe me?
music
Go look up You Got Cooped.
I just can't believe like she was so serious during that episode. Like this is the one time I'll look at Coop and be like, you can't be serious. Like honestly, like she that the you got cooped the I can't even talk about that part. But let's move on to actual music. She makes fantastic music. And I don't understand. What's funny?
Continue on.
Okay, like I was saying, she makes fantastic music, and I will actually have to give Layla this at this point in time. Like she really did help Coop become a better musician, find her lyrics and her tune and everything, and produced a hit that's probably still selling as we speak right now. And with the whole a non-existent label thing. I actually like that's when this is where I come back to Tamia being the best friend to everyone. She helped push Layla to now what is a career for her. I don't think Layla was considering this whole producing thing, and if it wasn't for Tamia, we wouldn't have Layla the producer. Depending on which part of the audience you ask, is that a good thing or bad thing? But ultimately, we wouldn't have Layla the producer, so we have Tamia to thank for that.
Sure, sure, sure. I'm not gonna say that it was 1,000% Coop. I think that given the way that Layla just hopped onto that demo, she always had a knack for it, and she was already writing music as early as season one. So, did Coop push her? I think yes, Coop did push her, literally push her to jumpstart her career. But do I think that it would have never come around? I don't know.
I think she would be a writer. I don't think she'd be a producer if it wasn't for her interactions with Coop. I think Coop is the one who helped her realize that the producing part of it was something she was more
I definitely
interested
think she
in
pushed her.
than the
I think she
writing.
pushed her and it jump started it, but I don't know if it would have never ever come around again.
Okay. Now I just feel like
I
you're not
definitely don't
you're
think it
not
would have come
giving.
in the form of her label for sure. I don't think that she would have her
Okay.
label as it is right now.
Okay. Okay. We can compromise there, even though you're not
But
giving
I
to
don't
me
know
her
if that's
flowers.
I don't you signaled that as a form of friendship. I don't know if I would agree that it was that
Um.
was demonstrating how she was a good great friend.
Wait. I thought friends aren't supposed to push each other to become the best of who they are. Like
But was
I
I don't know if we were talking about the same thing. You were talking about creating a label versus like personality and going for your dreams. I don't think at any point in time, Layla ever had a conversation with Coop that said, "This is what I want to do." Coop just assumed. I don't think she ever had that conversation with Layla. And Coop, I mean, Layla jumped into it for sure, but I don't think it was like I don't think it was a selfless act to be like, I'm signing with Layla.
all I will say is I think Coop realizing what Layla's dream, not what Layla's dream, but like Coop realizing what Layla is capable of and ultimately like jumpstarting it. I think that is even without the conversation. I think that that points to a great sign of friendship on Coop's part to realize like what Layla wanted to do. Was it 100% selfless? No, but I do think that she was a great friend to Layla in that moment.
Okay. And so with that being said, that was her on music, and they end up going on tour together. We'll get to that when we get to that. But other than that, she spent the rest of season two, uh, like starting to like helping Spencer with Darnell and his dad, and again, just being a very good
Yeah.
friend. Tries to help him see things from Darnell's perspective. Is there for him when his dad dies. Um, and then encourages him to get back into football after the shooting. On the
Yeah.
shooting end, of course, again, she was sort of hiding from Tyrone and trying to stay out of the gang life as best as possible. This is when we get more of Preach's involvement
Hmm.
in that whole situation, even more so. And she after Spencer gets shot, she thinks about again shooting Tyrone and going after Tyrone. So what did you she doesn't end up doing it, but she had a gun and everything. Had a gun and everything. So what did you think about sort of the other side of that on the Spencer Tyrone preach end of how she was in season two?
Once again, we have a situation. If people had just followed Tamia's plan, everything would have gone smoothly. Because if
Oh, I'm so excited to get to season 4 so I can say this live.
Because if Preach had just stuck to the plan, right, and done what he was supposed to do in terms of like testifying, whatever, Tyrone will still be in jail. And
Supposed to do, that's a really interesting phrase.
um, okay, but yeah. So I'm just saying, I at this point I feel like if everything that happened like season 2B rests entirely on Preach's shoulders because he did not follow the plan, and then that had a domino effect until the very end, until we see Spencer getting shot and stuff like that, and then Tamia, yeah, all that. So everything that happened is ultimately Preach's fault. That's what I think.
Um, yeah, my only response to that is going to be that people aren't pawns um to your uh to your point about following Coop's plan. You said it in season 1, you said it in season 2, following the plan. People aren't pawns, and it's more complicated than that. And so I definitely do not think that it's all on Preach. I think that, people share responsibility and, the things that happened. And I think that Coop was a part of that, and that, you know, trouble seems to find Coop. And I'll leave it there. But I did enjoy that, again, her being there for Spencer, Spencer always, and him being there for her as well in return.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yes, yes, yes. And that is, like I said, season 3. This is the first season. I'll start with this. This is the first season where we get drama between Coop and Spencer. Uh, because, after he got shot, he told her he didn't blame her for the shooting, but it seems like this deal, Coop's obsession with Mo, who has turned up, who is Tyrone's sister, uh, and her being paranoid is really getting to him. It's really getting to Patience. And he sort of, with everything going on with his arm and numbness with his arm, he realizes through Dr. Spears' help that he blames Coop for the shooting. So after that blow up happens between them, she's just like, music is my dream, bro. I'm gonna quit. I don't school is holding me back. So she quits school. Um, she stops being friends with Spencer after the whole arm thing, and also related to the things that she heard went down in Vegas. Um, and they spend the majority of the season on the outs. So, what did you think about Coop and Spencer in season 3?
oh, Cooper Spencer season 3. I wait. I literally forgot my train of thought. Okay, I think that I understand where Spencer. Oh no! First of all, I want to say I think in season 3, this is a little thing. I think in season 3, Coop should have been running the gangs. Don't you think? Like,
Should
we
have
end
been
season
running.
2. Yeah, like she should have been like
Season
the
2,
boss,
season
like the
3.
Tyrone of the gangs.
No, I don't think so.
Why? Like, it would have been so cool to see Coop in that. You know, obviously it would end up in tragedy, but it would have been so cool to see her in that aspect. But anyways, since you don't agree, but I think it would have been cool. But I think that I understand where Spencer was coming from. But ultimately, I think he was wrong. Um, I think that he was just trying to escape part of the blame that he had. He was trying to escape his part in the shooting and what led up to the shooting. So, and I think that's why he blamed Coop. I do understand, but because he did, like in 306 he did make some, no 305, sorry, in 305 he did make some valid points. Um, but once again, I do think it was a him problem that he was trying to project onto Coop.
Mm.
But I will also say that I didn't like the way Coop phrased her response in 306 to Spencer, because I just think sometimes it kind of annoys me when people hold like acts of friendship against you the way Coop was with Spencer. Um, but yeah, other than that, I do think it was just I think it was a much needed break as well. I think as people had been like friends for so long, I think they did need time to just separate and just see why they want to be friends again. And but I do think it is a shame because I think that their friendship is still not to where it was, even in season four. After they
Hmm.
reunited in season three, I do think it's a shame that I just don't see their friendship ever fully recovering to what it used to be in the beginning. And yeah, yeah. But I think in season three,
Do you
that's
think
where
that's
you.
because of their
Sorry,
fallout? Or do you think that's because of their fallout, or do you think it's just because
I'm
sort of
sorry. What did
the
you say?
sorry? Do you think it's because of their fallout, or do you think it's because the theme
Mm.
of season four has really been like changing relationships, and that they're growing, like they're not in high school anymore, and
Um,
like they
mm.
have other friends, like there's a wider friend group. It's not just the two of them. So anyway, all of that. What do you think on that?
I think it is partly to do with the fallout. It might be because they're changing everything, but I think it's because once again I think it's you see that family aspect of their friendship where they had to just back together because of that family aspect and just being familiar with each other. But I don't think they actually ever totally resolved like what why they fell out. So I think that's why they'll never be as close as they were again. Because I don't remember any apologies happening. I might be wrong because I didn't rewatch all of it, but I just think because of that lack of resolution, I think
Mhm.
they'll never achieve what they used to be in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's a good point. I think that again, I agree with some of your points. I also want to point out that season three, and part of this is because like Patience um, was missing for a portion because, as we know,
Mm,
Chelsea was on maternity leave. But she was a really good supportive girlfriend for the most part in season three. So I give her
okay.
points and kudos for that. You're not giving points and kudos to Coop for being a good girlfriend in season three.
To Coop, yes, to Coop, absolutely.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought you were
yeah.
giving it to patience. I thought you were giving them to patience. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely, to
Oh,
Coop all the time.
wow. You see, you're just ready to not even listen to what I'm saying. You're just ready to fight. Just ready to
Yeah.
fight. Um,
And I just want to say, I don't think Spencer trusts Coop anymore the way he used to. That's all. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I completely
Mm-hmm.
agree with that. And some of that is like again changing relationships. He has Olivia, who is his day one. Who what I mean. He's never had a romantic partner and his best friend and confidant in one person, and he's settled into it with Olivia for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but
But yeah.
on the point of season three, um,
Mm-hmm.
I I was one of the I think vocal few to say that I don't think Spencer handled it the best. Even though I also agree that like portion was it majority of it was on Coop in terms of him getting shot. I do think that he had some responsibility as well, because he got in Tyrone's face in
Mm-hmm.
season two. Um, and he does tend to play the hero, but again, so I didn't appreciate how it came out, but I'm glad he finally let it out. And I also agree that I didn't like her response. I think that both of their communication about this subject was really rough for lack of a better word.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Even
And
that,
also
except for the majority of the faults laying on Coop, but everything else after that, I agree.
well, that being said, and then why I put the majority of the fault continuously on Coop. not just for the shooting, but in general, is because I think that Spencer tried. I think that Spencer tried to be cordial, and uh, Coop wasn't receptive, which was very just surprising because after everything that they've been through, I didn't like how she handled the. I don't like how she handles a lot of things, but didn't like how she handled just the aftermath of that, and like virtually not even being like cordial to him up until they sort of came back around when it was her 18th birthday. Um, but eventually they did come back around, and like you said, I think that it's their relationship has evolved, it's changed. It's definitely not the same as it was in season 1 and 2. um I want to sort of shift in because I think this is a good point for shifting into season 4,
Mhm.
because these are storylines that have continued, but obviously signed to Layla's label. They came off a successful tour. um Immediately Layla thinks that or Coop thinks that Layla is a thief because of her tour check, and
Uh,
comes at her sideways. She, in quotation marks, takes Layla's side, which Layla did not ask her to do, by the way. And she said, Spencer's your best friend. I'm removing myself from that conversation. But in effect, takes Layla's side, uh, in theory, um, with the whole Vegas situation. Um, and really is like working with Layla. She also like hires Preach after he gets released from jail. Hires Preach as her manager, without like talking about it with Layla. So we see the first tension there between the two of them as it relates to the label and as it relates to her music. That goes into season 4 after they're both dealing with this trauma, Coop being shot and the damage to her lungs, and Layla being almost killed as well. And they both don't handle it the best, and Coop's in sort of a depression. She quits music, as she says, "The dream is dead. Music
you
is
need to
dead.
stop. You need to stop.
The dream is dead. Music is dead."
No, you
Uh,
need to stop.
and so she really doesn't let Layla know, um, that she's quitting music. But Layla finds out, uh, basically is just like, well, I'm gonna recoup on my investment. Um, I'm gonna finish your album with somebody else. XYZ, they're sort of on the outs for the majority of the season. They're cordial, but they're on the outs for the majority of the season. They don't really work well together. And we come back around. Layla goes through her journey. They apologize to each other at the end of season 4. So what do you think of their this wasn't even an apology. So they come to an understanding. Layla apologizes at the end of season 4. I do
As
think
she
that Coop should,
should. Oh no. Uh-huh.
whatever. So what did you think about that whole turn?
um okay, I'll start from like season 3. I think once again you see like Tamia being a good friend to Layla, being her support system after the
God.
whole. I
Yeah, I'm gonna
understand.
let you talk. Finish your point.
After the whole like Spencer Vegas thing, um, and then with the whole label thing, yes, they continue to make good music, they support each other, and then you see that and then Coop gets shot. Right now, let's go to season 4. I've been saying since episode 2 of season 4 that Layla needed to apologize to Coop. No, season 4, episode 4, I mean. That Layla needed to apologize to Coop because the way she handled that situation with Coop was not correct. She should have understood that Coop had just lost this big thing that took her so long to get. Like as you were mentioning before, I don't think Coop ever saw this greatness in her. And then now she's going on tours, she's selling out small venues, whatever she's doing, and then suddenly she's going to go on a second tour, and that dream is yanked away from her. And then you see the person who has been with her through that journey doesn't even
I don't think it's
understand.
been with her. from Coop's own mouth that Layla is really the person that believed in her. Yes, Spencer supported her dreams. And yes, like Patience supported her dreams. But in terms of like jumpstarting it as a career, Layla is the person that believed in her. From Coop's own mouth. I'm adding that.
I'm I'm not disagreeing with it. What I'm saying that even adds to my point that Layla should have been
No, I know.
should
I'm
have been
adding
able,
to your story context that you're setting. Go ahead.
yeah, like Layla should have been the one to recognize that Coop had lost something very, very important to her. And speaking to her the way she did in the studio, telling her, "I'm just going to take your stuff. I'm going to um, I'm going to finish off with someone else." All these things. Yeah, that was just very unkind of Layla. And I'm very, very glad that when Layla finished her whole entire journey, Tamia was the first one to get an apology because it was deserved. Because out of everyone else, yeah, no, Tamia deserves the apology the most. Because literally, Tamia has just been a good friend to Layla from
Oh
the
my
very, very beginning. Tamia
god.
has just been a good friend to Layla. And the one time, Tamia needed
The
Layla to
one
be a
time?
friend. Okay, the one time in season 4. That's
What was the one time?
Tamia
I want
needed.
what, from your mouth. What is the one time?
The one time in season 4 that Tamia
Yeah, I'm
needed.
saying, what happened? What one time are you referring to?
I'm referring to when she came and like was trying to tell Layla that she can't sing anymore. Yeah, that time. That time Tamia needed Layla not to be a producer, but to be a friend. And guess what?
Oh, but
Layla was
you
just
said that Coop was a great friend except for one time. Is that not what you said?
no, no, I said Cooper's a great friend to Layla, and the one time Coop needed Layla to be a good friend, she wasn't.
Oh my gosh. Um, this is not about Layla. This is about Coop. So my
Yeah.
thoughts on Coop's end of that is that Coop, just like she behaved with Spencer,
Oh
made it
no.
Coop and did not handle any of the situations that could have been they could have been not situations at all. Like if she didn't understand the check and she said, "Hey, I'm kind of confused about this." Would it but no, she accused Layla of being a thief. And then later on, Layla's just like, "I don't want to come in between you and your friendship." She makes it seem like, "Oh yeah, what you did to Layla." Like, what? And and for someone
Hmm.
whose label you're signed to and who has been in effect your de facto manager, you just do not consult that person when it had been in effect it had been a joint venture, to your point. And so Coop has also done things without consulting Layla that impact Layla's label. So for that, and for the reason that Coop also, like, they were mutually going through things.
Okay.
And so
Um,
for
mhm.
Coop, on Coop's end, not to recognize that Layla had been almost killed, and I don't think that she checked in on Layla once. Um, once. Uh, that being said, I'm not going to talk about the other end because we all know that she did. But Coop didn't check on Layla once in terms of Carrie. And so it on Coop's end of being a friend, I'm not seeing this friendship that you are seeing. And besides the fact that, again, out of Coop's own admittance, like, I was messing with your business and messing with your money.
Okay.
And so I think that she realized at the end of the season that it was just like they were both in the wrong. And like I said, they came to an understanding about that. And I hope that their friendship gets to a better place. And I think that it is, because I think that, like, despite everything, they were able to be cordial when it didn't come to music, when music was no longer a sensitive subject for them.
So all I'm hearing is that Tamia is a bigger person and a fantastic friend from all of that.
I don't know how you're hearing that, because that's not what I'm saying.
Like that's
But
exactly what you
if
just
that's
said.
what you want to hear, sure, sure,
But then
sure.
I would just say when it comes to the chick thing, this is the one thing I'll just say about the chick thing. I I think it's just because of what patients had told her, and it was that like that fierce like
about
that
JP
girlfriend thing.
didn't believe in
Yes,
her, as we already agreed, and Layla did. So
yeah. But
Layla is
that's
not
all I'll
JP,
say.
but she accused Layla of being JP a couple times at this point.
But she was actually
So
JP though. Let's just. But anyways,
not
it's not
when
about
she came
Layla.
to her about the check. Not when she came to her
No,
about the check. And how would
listen,
JP know? How would Coop? Anyway, we're not gonna get into this. I don't care.
yeah.
But
Because of that. But
regardless, like I
anyways,
said,
move
I
on.
hope their friendship gets to a better place. Friendship, as you term it, I don't necessarily. I think that they're starting to be friends and they are cordial. Um, but uh, yeah, that's on that. The other thing that Coop was dealing with was this whole preach Mo drama.
Oh, right. Right.
And
Oh.
I just gonna say right now, I have nothing to say on that because I've talked about it extensively in the reviews. And Coop
Uh,
just needs to stay out of trouble. Trouble follows
of
Coop.
course.
No, we keep saying what was it? What did patient say? This is a great point for me to bring up what patient said on the matter. The person to blame for all of the drama that follows Coop around is Coop. Hard saying, but true nonetheless. And that's my thoughts on the whole Preach
Right.
Mo Amina situation.
Um, I think with the preach Mo, I the whole Mo situation should have been handled differently. Um, I think once again, we see a situation where Tamia Cooper is right, and everyone else around her does not believe her. And guess what happens? Like, guess what happens? If Tamia gets shot, it's so sad. Like, if people had just believed her, like Tamia would have been
Believed her
in
and
a
done
different.
what? They were high school students. Again, the person,
No, listen.
person
I like even if they were high school students, whatever, what they
blamed
had to do
for
is just
all of the drama that follows Coop around is Coop. If she had just stayed out of Mo's way, we're not going to act like
but
she didn't come and confront Mo multiple times.
the thing is, but Tamia was right about Mo though. Like
Okay,
she
then
couldn't
be
have
right
stayed.
about Mo. Be right about Mo and avoid her if you're right about Mo.
There was no avoiding. There was no. If I'm hearing you right, you said
there is no,
avoid
there is
Mo.
no avoiding. As multiple times, Coop was like, "I know what you're doing. I know why you're here." Okay, okay,
No, no,
okay.
but then the thing is, Mo was coming after her. How do you avoid someone coming after you?
Mo came after her in the very last minute of the very last episode.
But that was the whole entire purpose of Mo being there. So ultimately, Coop was right.
Sure, sure, sure. So anyway, is that it on the Mo preach situation? Is that Coop was right?
That's always my perspective. Coop is always right. And I feel the only thing I'm gonna say about that, I feel that that situation should have really stayed in season three, and to me, it should have like been focusing on her
I have
comeback in
never
season
agreed
four.
with you more on a point about never agreed with you hardly. It
Yeah,
should have stayed in season three.
that's the thing.
With that being said, Patience is fed up, uh, fed up with everything having to do with Coop. Um, as I said, I already quoted her, and so they go through this season super, super, super struggling. Patience feels like Coop is suffocating her at points, and they finally decide to break up. They break up. They get jealous. They hook up, and right now where they're
They?
at is they break up, they get jealous, they hook up.
Okay.
Yes, yes, all of those are a they. And at the end of the season, they decide after
They?
Coop prompting decide after Coop prompting it that they should remain friends because and this is why I'll say it's a they deciding because Coop was the one who prompted maybe we should re-explore us, maybe we should open that door again. So yes, they decided to open the door, but then Coop, after prompting it, they decided to shut that door. So what did you think about the whole
um,
patience stuff?
I am gonna say in season four, Patience, Patience Roberts or Robertson, whatever her surname is, was probably the worst support system I've ever seen for anyone. She did not try at all to support Coop.
More worse than Billy.
Um, Billy Baker, I want to be Billy Baker patience, Billy Baker patience. Okay, not worse than Billy, right? Not worse than Billy and Asher. That's just a given. I feel like that's implied. But when we're talking about likable people on the show, she was the worst support system on the show. Like I have never seen. I There was only one time I would say that Tamia was out of line, and that was when she said, "I was the one who got shot. How does that affect you?" That was the only time I think Tamia was out of line. But then, other than that, Patience was short with her. She was impatient. Like it was just bad. They couldn't have written it any worse when it came to like season 4 and being a support system for Coop. And then we carry on to the whole they that you were saying. Um, but I would just point out that Patience is the one who is missing what she used to have because she's realized she did a good thing go. Because she spent the whole entire season 4 being annoyed with Coop and oh my gosh, Coop is this, Coop is that, Coop is suffocating me. Only about a week later after they break up to be wanting Coop back. So all I'm gonna say is I don't see a they in 90% of the scenarios that you're talking about. It was mostly just Patience pining after Coop again. After she was the one who literally was just no, let's break up, let's do this. She was the one who literally just wanted to be away from Coop the whole entire time in season 4. And when the one time when she finally gets the chance to be away from Coop, she's pining after Coop. Like, I understand Coop is a catch. Coop is a catch. I will say that, but an entire time Patience noticed that because the way she was treating Coop in season 4, yeah, no, she deserves to be pining after Coop. She deserves it because she was treating my girl really really bad.
Um, okay. Uh, I will say
Uh-huh.
that Patience was mostly wanting. I felt the vibes of wanting to get her to get back together with Coop in 4B. However, I'm not going to subscribe to the idea that Coop was not also in that same boat at a point because Sky called her out on it on the very first date. Um, and
I,
the whole it was,
no,
and it's
I'll
my opinion.
disagree with that.
It's
No,
my
no,
opinion.
that's why I said I'll disagree with that. And moved on.
So, where do you? We've seen you describe Coop. I would not use your all of your words to describe her. I think she's a great friend to Spencer. Like I said, I think that she is one of the most selfish characters on the show.
Wow.
I do, like I said at the top earlier, she's on a good path right now. So, where do you see
Hmm.
Coop going in the future?
I I wanted Coop to ultimately like be like to to have her own like competing like a label with Layla and like prosper over Layla, but I'm not getting that. But what I think is gonna happen for her, I think for now, music, as Cooper said, is dead. I think she is going to continue in this law thing with Laura, and she's going to be great at that. I would like to see a storyline between like the law criminal storyline that Laura and Coop have going with like the Livia journalism storyline. But I see her becoming like a kick ass lawyer, uh, like at the end who just sings songs like as a side hustle. But she's ultimately gonna be a kick ass lawyer at the end. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, to be honest, I haven't thought about it much. I'm just gonna do up to
Uh-huh.
5 mid-season. I hope and I do think that she's going to continue on this journey of trying to be a better person and exploring whether that's law, whether that's music, exploring her possibilities. Because to bring it back to where we were at season 1, she didn't think that she had the talent that Spencer had or the opportunity
Yeah.
that Spencer had. And so now that her opportunities have been open, um, I'm excited to see what she does with that.
Yeah, but I want to see a comeback from Coop. Like I've been saying this for like the whole season 4, and the writers just aren't listening to me. I want a comeback. Please, can Coop have a comeback in terms of music? That's the only thing I ask in terms of a character. That's all.
Yes, I'm not asking that, but very, very excited to see her on her own for a bit, whether that's like on her own in the sky, on her own, or whatever that means. Even though I would prefer she not, but I can't, I don't have control over the lore storyline, so I have to sit here and bear it. But just when she has opportunities, what does that look like on her own? And yes, that's our thoughts on Coop as a character. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next episode.